everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, Star Maker for entrepreneurs who want to unlock their potential, command any stage, and make blockbuster profits. Welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a brand that makes you happy and profitable. Here we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, founder of the Brand Star Academy, where I teach entrepreneurs how to be powerful, profitable speakers and create their own celebrity personal brands. Welcome to this episode of Thrive, how to move mountains in 15 minutes per day or less, with my special guest, Michelle Demers. Michelle Demers is a business consultant and she is the CEO and founder of Coworking Clubs, an organization that helps entrepreneurs and solopreneurs create daily accountability so they can achieve their goals and be more productive. She's also the creator of the Sustainable Success System, How to Move Mountains in 15 minutes per day or less. Michelle works with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs to help them really build communities and accountability to achieve their biggest dreams and goals. This was such a great interview with Michelle because it reminded me, and I hope that it's great information for you, about how consistent small steps make big results. In this episode, we talk about why being accountable to other people makes us so much more successful. And Michelle talks about how you can really make a huge impact on your profits in just doing 15 minutes of work a day. She shares an amazing story of one of her coworking club clients who landed over $200,000 in contracts in just 90 days using the 15-minute method that she's created. Michelle and I also talk about why it's so important to build real relationships, how your relationships and building a network that is built on getting to know people and not just trying to get people to buy from you is actually going to help your bottom line and your happiness in the long run. We also talk about why many people are not achieving their goals and why they are choosing the wrong objectives to chase, and that's distracting and detracting from their profits. Michelle is a sweetheart. It was so much fun to have her on the show, and she is a veteran of the coaching and business community, so I know you're going to get so much value out of this interview. Also, I want to let you know about my Stage Ready Masterclass that's coming up in Boston in April, the last weekend of April, where I'm going to be coaching entrepreneurs who want to become powerful, profitable speakers, how to command the stage and close the room. We're going to be in a real theater and with a small group of like-minded entrepreneurs who are going to be on stage with you, learning how to craft your talk so that it sells, that you feel powerful and are in your integrity, and that you become an emotionally engaging storyteller, and that you learn how to use your body with confidence and create magnetism and charisma on the stage, which is the secret sauce to selling. If you'd like to know more about that, I'd love to have you. It's April, the last weekend, 28th and 29th here in Boston. I will put the link in the show notes. Okay, on to the show. I hope you enjoy this episode of Thrive. Hi everyone, I'm Heather Poduska, founder of the Brand Star Academy, where I teach entrepreneurs how to be powerful, profitable speakers and create their own celebrity personal brands. Welcome to Thrive, the show where I bring you tips, resources, and people to help you create a more abundant life and business. You're in for high value content coming to you from industry leaders who are growing their business, making an impact, and rocking their brands. And I'm so excited to have my special guest here today, Michelle Demers. Michelle Demers is the founder and CEO of CoworkingClubs.com, online communities where people work together and take daily action to achieve their goals and dreams. She is the creator of the Sustainable Success System, Move Mountains in 15 minutes per day or less, teaching people how to be more successful and productive in their work and their lives. Michelle holds an MBA and has been a business coach and consultant and strategist for the last 18 years. Quite a pro. Welcome, Michelle. So great to have you here.
Thanks for being here.
So tell us, what is a co-working club? You're the founder of a co-working club. What is that?
So Coworking Clubs, online transformational communities. And it's a platform that I run where people check in every day on a goal that they've declared, and usually we're helping them identify what that best goal is. But then they check in every day, they answer questions to let us know what they're working on. And it's a way through an online community where we can help people with accountability, productivity, helping them get things done, and doing so in a supported way that oftentimes people don't have if they're working from home alone, or even if they're working in a business or corporate setting, but they might just need a little bit of extra support. So that's what we do.
Yeah, that's great. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs do work from home. So I've talked to a lot of people that are like, oh, I wish I lived closer to you so that I could work with you, and I feel so isolated where I am. I mean, this is a great way for people to have that connection.
Definitely, definitely. The other thing that we do is we also provide a coaching element to it, though. So it's not like they're just checking in, but they're actually getting help on maybe changing how they're working on things, or changing the focus of a goal if that particular goal isn't working out. So there's also a daily coaching element to it that one of our coaches can support them on as well.
So we were talking about this before. Talk to us a little bit, because this is really, really important. If you want to be a leader in your industry, if you want to make the kind of money that you want to make, you have to be working on the right goals. So how do you see people falling away from the right goals, and how do you guide them to the goals that are going to be really meaningful for their success?
Yeah. That's a great question. After 18 years of working with a lot of people, especially I tend to work with more of the solo professionals, people who work from home, people who are expert brand businesses, service professionals. So there's a few things where I see, in general, people make mistakes. One is that they're not focusing on the profit centers of their business. They're working on trying to sell low-end things, where they really need to be focused on selling more higher ticket programs, packages, products, services, and putting things together where they're not just getting a client for a week or a month, but they're getting a long-term client. So sometimes it involves even restructuring how they're delivering and packaging that product or service that they have. And then really focusing on sales. So many people don't like to do sales. And so when they get a client and they're busy, sometimes the sales activities fall to the side. So really helping them say, you know what, even when business is going well, you still have to have some of that sales activity going on the sides, because of course you have to keep your pipeline full, because you'll need additional clients when current clients you have wrap up. Of course, if you want to grow your business, you need to always be thinking of sales as well.
Yeah, well, those are really important, and I think that's true. A lot of people, they kind of bristle at the idea of sales, and I think one thing that I find with my clients is when they have clarity. When you have clarity about what you're doing, you know, when I give my signature talk, I talk about the 7 steps that have to be in place to really be a star in your industry. And, you know, one of them is getting out and getting visible and really being your own best advocate. And people I can see them physically go like this. But I always say, if you've done the other 6 steps, this should be fun. Because you know what you're selling, you believe in it, you have your message, and that's kind of what you're saying as well, right? That when they have the focus where they're going to be generating the most impact and the money, does that make the sales process easier for them?
Yeah, I think it gives them confidence, but also, so there's a couple things that when it comes to sales. One is mindset. One is, you want to be so happy and proud of what you do that you're willing to shout it to the rooftops. It's the opportunity you don't want others to miss. And that's what I tell people. I said, well, how would you feel if somebody had a product or service that could really help you, but they didn't tell you about it and you missed out? Well, you want to be thinking about that when you're selling, that really you're just sharing opportunities with people. You're not pushing things onto them. So you're just making them aware of opportunities, of things that might be interesting or useful or helpful to them. But then the other side of it is systems, right? So we need systems for getting leads. We need systems for working on those leads. So a lot of what I help people with are putting those types of systems in place. Because sometimes what we don't like about selling is just all that legwork when we don't have certain systems. So making it easier, when something's easy, it's definitely more fun.
Definitely. So can you talk a little bit more about that sales system? Because one of the things I think that people get tripped up on is they're told they need a low-end offer.
They need a step-in offer so people can experience them, like I think it's Andrea Lee who talks about the pink spoon, like that initial taste of what you can do. But I think people get stuck, as our friend Wendy likes to say, in the weeds. People get stuck in the weeds in that, okay, I want people to come into my funnel, but I want to be selling $50,000 coaching packages. How do you reconcile, bringing people in the funnel, having a step-in offer, and not getting lost in the weeds between where you really want to be spending and focusing your energy on that, and still having some kind of a sales process in place?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned Andrea Lee, because I'm a licensee of her program.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, she was one of the first people, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to make her feel bad, but many years ago, and I didn't know anything about coaching. I picked up one of her books and I was like, what is this pink spoon you speak of? So that's so funny.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, I definitely think that model still works. You want to have, something free to get people to have a little taste of who you are, and then you can have different products or services at different price points, $100, $500, $5,000, $10,000, whatever the case is. But here's where I'm seeing people getting stuck, and it's a lot of us who are playing in that internet marketing world. We think that we have to have all of that lower stuff in place before we can even sell a bigger package. And that's not true. I am an advocate for having all of those layers, but so I work with a lot of people who they're just getting started and they're thinking, well, the very first thing I need to do is create an email opt-in for my list. And I said, no, the very first thing you need to do is get a client so you have money to stay in business.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of folks that follow some of that internet marketing study, if you will, they've been trained to, okay, first I have to create the opt-in, I have to build my website, I have to do all this stuff before I even go get the client. And what I help people do is I say, no, we kind of have to do both at the same time, but actually the client comes first. So let's put together some packages that you could offer that could be hundreds and thousands of dollars. And how do you find clients? Well, there's still the good old-fashioned way of networking and reaching out to people and having phone conversations. And I think people forget that in this internet world. We also kind of want to hide behind the computer and let the computer do all the work for us. We actually still have to reach out and talk to people too.
Yeah, I was just listening to a podcast, and I feel like that's a sentence I say every day. I was just listening to a podcast besides the Thrive podcast. And I think the guy's name is Steve Sims, and his thing is about relationships and building. He makes really big dreams come true for people, like singing with Andre Bocelli, right? Like really big dreams for people to come true. And he's like, the only way I can do that is through nurturing these relationships. And he said, everybody's worried about making sales. He's like, no, you need to nurture your relationships, because that's where all of your resources are going to come from. And you and I have talked about different people that we know, that we've connected each other to, that have been helpful, and it's just so important. So I'm glad that you're talking about not just the internet, not just hiding behind there. So can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I just think, well, we met through social media. So this, I think our story is a perfect example of this. Yeah, so you happen to we live within about an hour of each other. Yep. I don't exactly remember how we friended or got connected.
I don't know.
But we started commenting on each other's posts, and then I had an event and I thought of you and I reached out to invite you to that, and then I was going to be in your area and invited you to lunch and stuff. So we actually got together and had FaceTime, because I think that's important in terms of developing the relationships online and offline. And of course, if you're working with somebody across the country, then you can't always get together in person. But I think when and if you can, that making those efforts is really important in terms of getting to know people and building relationships.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that we talked about that on our panel discussion a little bit too. And I made a commitment last year to upgrade my interactions. So if there was a choice between an email and a phone call, sometimes you have to email first, or sometimes you're like on Facebook first.
Right.
But that initial contact, you want to call or Skype. Well, I've switched because you have to spend the time anyway.
Yeah.
So I've switched to Skype because I want to see someone's face. If it's a choice between Skype and meeting in person, if it's possible and the time is okay for that.
Yeah.
I like doing that because it's the building the relationship. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about that a little bit more and how that really helps the mastermind format that you have in the clubs, because Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. I mean, that's one of the tenets of becoming a rich person in all ways, is having a powerful mastermind. So talk to us a little bit about the co-working clubs and how that piece fits in.
Sure. Well, in the clubs, because we do have people everywhere, we always do the video calls.
Oh, that's
because
good.
we do like the FaceTime, and that's how you get it in the online world. Yeah, but definitely one of the things that as I grow co-working clubs, I'm looking to create local pockets of people where we can also get together offline, because that's so important too.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of masterminding, the way the platform works that I have is it allows each person in a group to actually provide feedback, coaching, and insights to each other. So it isn't just, let's say I'm the coach of that group. It's not just me doing that. It's everybody doing it for each other, which is where the sum is greater than the parts.
Definitely.
Is how that's designed. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that that's a part of, I love the pod idea of having those locally too. I think people are hungry for that.
Yeah.
And also for connections that they know are going to be meaningful. Because I've had a couple of meetings with people that I've taken time out of my day to meet, and then I was like, I think you're just trying to sell me something, or it wasn't quite the right match, and then you're like, oh, why did I spend my time doing that? But having this where there's already this parameter established, I think is really important.
Yeah, no, so we're definitely, it's funny you say that, because so people inside the clubs are actually doing business with each other.
Nice.
They're hiring each other, they're buying and selling products and services from each other, but it's not a pitchy atmosphere. It's not a, hey, let me tell you about what I got today. It's really more about relationships. And actually part of what I do in the clubs is I teach people how to do that. I encourage them, reach out and have a connection call. Reach out, 15 minutes, cup of coffee. It doesn't have to be an hour every single time. I think that's part of where people get a little daunted, like, I don't have time to have a call with every single person. Well, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just a quick hi. It doesn't have to always be a full hour appointment type of call. So I think making those kinds of adjustments, and also I'm starting to do what I call group coffee calls, where instead of one-on-ones, I will bring a group of people, and it's kind of like we're having a mini networking call. So you get to meet more than one person in the same amount of time.
I really like that.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that. I worked with a coach many years ago who was like, your time is valuable. You shouldn't be meeting anybody in person. You just get on the phone, 15-minute sales calls, and you're done. And I'm like, this does not operate that way. Maybe it does for some people, but it just, that's not how I like to do things. So I love that. And I think that especially because of social media, people are really hungry for it. They're really hungry for that more meaningful connection.
Yeah.
So, and I can't imagine you creating anything else because you're such a lovely person. So I'm curious, you just have such a nice way about you. You've been doing this for 18 years. So how did you get into coaching, and why are you doing this now?
Well, the clubs have only been around for less than a year, but I've been in the coaching, internet marketing, business entrepreneurship world for 18 years. Yeah. Well, it's funny because sometimes I ask myself that question, because my original career path was zoology, and I had planned to, like Jane Goodall, live in the mountains with chimpanzees and that kind of thing.
Now you're just with the entrepreneur monkeys, right? I mean, just like that jungle.
Yeah. But when you're in college, you fall in love, and then you realize that going off and living in the middle of Africa isn't conducive when the person you fall in love with is here. So yeah, you kind of just settle into more of a normal life. But I actually did not like business at all. I think in college, my feeling of business was just that sneaky, how does it go?
Sneaky sales?
No. Snake oil.
Oh, snake oil.
There it is. Sorry, it took a second. Yeah, but I just didn't have a good sense of business. I didn't like what business stood for in my mind. And so I ended up working in nonprofits and in fundraising and development, but what I realized is that they weren't thinking like a business, and they needed to, and a lot of their money wasn't actually being put towards the use that it needed to be put towards. So right around that time, I read the book Double Dip by Ben and Jerry's, and it talked about being a values-led business. And I thought, here's the marriage of nonprofit values type of thinking and feeling, but with a business mindset and strategy. And all of a sudden I thought, actually business could be a really awesome thing. And so then I decided to go get my MBA, and I went in the business route. But I've kind of come full circle, because what I do is I really build in a lot of values-based stuff into my own businesses. So I give scholarships away to people to come in and work in the clubs. We donate to reforestation projects and things like that. So I have a lot of giving back elements that I've built into my company.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And one of the things I was going to ask you was, you talked about the money generating activities, and you had a great story. And the thing that I love about what you do, Michelle, is that, like I said, you just, and people are going to see when they see you're just such a nice person, and that whole thing of giving back and the values base and supporting people, but also being savvy and strategic. And you were telling me before we started about a success story of a woman or a person who was really focusing on something that wasn't generating the money. And tell that story, because I think it's a really good illustration of why it's so important and why it doesn't have to be so hard.
Yes, yes. So, well, this particular client is a coach as well, and so getting kind of back to the whole pink spoon funnel idea with the different products and services at different layers. So she's creating an annual membership program in her business. It's about $300 for the year. So that's more of a relatively lower end product when someone's only paying for $300 for something that's going to last a whole year. And it will be a great income revenue generator for her, because people that join that will go on to do other things with her. They'll hire her as a coach or go to her retreats or something. So in the long run, it actually is a great revenue generating product to have. But in the short run, she needs to have a certain amount of money every month coming in to stay in business. Well, she has a VIP day that she sells for somewhere between $2,500 and $3,500. But she didn't really want to actually put the effort into selling that, because again, it's like that outreach, and people kind of drag their heels on that. And so I said, look, in the clubs, we help you pick your primary goal. That's your fastest path to cash. And I said, in terms of what you're checking in on every day in the club, I want you to be checking in on selling your VIP days. And you only need to work on it 15 minutes a day. That comes back to the sustainable success system, move mountains in 15 minutes per day. But I said, if you put 15 minutes a day into identifying people in your circle already who would be great candidates for that, and reach out to them and set up conversations and see if you can get anyone to buy into your spots, then that would be a great way for you to make money, and that would be the thing I want you to focus on. And so in 2 weeks, she had sold $17,000 worth of VIP days, when before she was dragging her feet and she didn't want to. And so then, of course, she's all excited, like, wow, I'm going to start selling my VIP days for April and May. And we started talking about pre-selling them and all of this stuff. So she's actually going to be booking out her whole year well ahead of time, and people putting down deposits, and this is going to create an income foundation for her, so that then when she's building her $300 program, she has the income coming in already from these other sources, and she's not totally relying on that other income. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think I love it kind of comes back to the relationship thing, but you also mentioned community, because I think that piece is really the point where people freak out is, okay, I have this package, I have this program, but how am I going to find the clients?
Yeah.
And I'll just tell you a little story. So I had coffee. I met someone in person. We had coffee somewhere on the North Shore, and we were just like in this place, nothing spectacular, just a place to have coffee. Yeah. And Nancy Kerrigan walked in.
Oh my gosh.
and the person I was sitting with said, "Hey, Nancy," and called her over. And because she'd watched her on Dancing with the Stars. So we had like a 15-minute, 20-minute conversation with Nancy Kerrigan. And then the other day I was watching I had the E station on, and they had like this thing for the Kardashians. And Nancy Kerrigan was skating in the Kardashians' backyard for their annual Christmas party.
Oh, funny.
So that really struck me because I was like, I was in a coffee shop on the North Shore speaking to Nancy Kerrigan. And 2 or 3 months later, I'm watching her on one of the most popular reality shows in the world, skating in someone's backyard. And that, I think sometimes we get like, oh, who am I going to talk to? You know so many people. You have so many connections. So I think that's a really important piece. Do you notice any other things that people, that they get stuck on, or any tips for people to kind of get over that hump of, like being nervous about reaching out?
Yeah, well, what I tell people is, don't think of it as you're pushing yourself or what you do on other people. Approach it as you're so excited to meet this mystery person who you have no idea who they are and what they're about. So you approach the conversation wanting to just find out all about that person. And they could be this big present waiting to be unwrapped. And it's really not about you.
Right.
It's about them. And if you just kind of take the stress off of, I have to sell something, it's you're just having a conversation, you're getting to know people. And if you approach everything like that, then you will meet enough people who, when it's the appropriate time to offer what it is that you have, you can do that, and you'll have more than enough business. So I tell people that. And then the other kind of analogy that I make is like, let's say you had a family member who is very ill, like let's say they needed a heart transplant or something. Well, if you had to all of a sudden raise $100,000 in 90 days to help that loved one get that surgery, you would be baking cookies, knocking on doors, selling vacuum cleaners. Like, you would do whatever it took because you would not fail at that goal.
Right.
And I think it's important for people to treat themselves and their business that way. I need to make a certain number of dollars in the next 90 days or whatever. And if that means that I have to, 15 minutes a day, reach out and set up calls or do whatever it is they need to do in their sales process, do it. It's that important. Right? We'll do things for other people that we don't do for ourselves.
Wow.
And I think when you're a solo professional, you have to treat yourself like your own business, in that you are doing it for someone else. I don't know if I'm explaining that
Totally.
right.
No. I think it's also setting yourself as the priority, taking yourself seriously.
Yeah.
And, why shouldn't you? This is the one thing that it's something I still work on, but it's a business. Why should you feel badly about making money? It's a business.
Right.
And the business is to feed your kids and go on vacation and donate to your charities. It's a business. It's not something you should feel badly about or be embarrassed that you're trying to make money in your business.
Absolutely.
So I really like that. And I just you have another spectacular success story that I wanted you to talk about. When somebody really shifted to focusing on sales and their zone of genius and their money generating activities, where they made a multiple six-figure month. Can you tell that story? Because I was like,
Actually, it was my former business partner.
Okay.
So we started a company called superinterns.com. She's still working in that company. But it's funny because she's the primary salesperson in the company. And she's kind of still gets stuck in that, like we all do. Like, I have to work in the business today, serving clients, or I'm going to work on sales. And always feeling like she needed 2 or 3 hours to put into sales to really do what she needed to do. And I said, no, you just need to do 15 minutes, promise me. You do this in 15 minutes a day, you're just consistent with it, and you will start to see results. So she committed, she did the 15 minutes a day. So her 15 minutes was reaching out to other CEOs and people on LinkedIn. The other thing that we were overcoming was, it was August, And she said, I never do sales in August because either everybody's on vacation or I'm taking a few weeks off, and it just doesn't seem like a great time to be trying to do any kind of sales. So we started the 15 minutes a day in August, and by 6 weeks later, she had $100,000 in proposals out. And 10 weeks later, so 4 weeks after that, so 10 weeks total, she had $250,000 in proposals out, and 40,000 of that had actually closed.
Wow.
And this was all stuff that she had done 15 minutes a day in August. It wasn't any business she had prior to that. It was all new stuff. And she said, we are going to have our best year. And it was all because of a few things. One is she got rid of assumptions that weren't helping her. One is I need 2 to 3 hours a day to make any kind of dent in doing sales in my business. And another was August is not a good time of year for me to be doing sales. We said, you know what, just do your action every day and you'll see it come to fruition. So yeah, it's powerful.
I love that. I love you just do the work. It reminds me of the book, the War of Art. Have you ever read that book?
Love that book. Yes, Stephen Pressfield.
Stephen Pressfield.
Yes.
Where he talks about you just show up every morning and write.
Correct.
You just show up, and your job is to show up. I love this. It's this ritual of like just showing up for yourself and taking a stand for yourself and your success in your business. I love that.
That's what we're all about. That's exactly it. And it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what your goal is. If your goal is to lose weight, whatever it is, you just show up every day. The actual result is a byproduct of showing up.
So can people join the clubs who are not entrepreneurs, who do, like, say they wanted to lose weight or maybe write a book and that's their goal? Can those kinds of people join the clubs too?
Yeah, so how we work it in the clubs is I have different clubs for different topics.
Cool.
And so right now we have the Entrepreneur Club. I'm going to be starting a health club in the new year. But I have on the website a page that anybody who has anything they want to work on can reach out to me and we can build a club around it.
I would think writing books, because I think that would be a great club to have.
Yes.
Because so many people want to write books, and it's overwhelming to start. They might have the idea, but just to even to have the accountability for 15 minutes. And once you get that practice in place, it's in place. So I think that's really huge.
We have people in the Entrepreneur Club who their project is the book that they're working on, but we are going to be launching a specific book writing club as well.
Nice.
So,
That's very smart. Very smart.
Yeah.
You're a smart cookie. So if people do want to find out about how to get in the clubs, if they want to find out more about you, if they want to inbox you and say, I need a club for, selling my Barbies online. So
Yes.
whatever it is. How can they find out more about you online, your website, the Coworking Clubs? How can they find out more?
So just go to coworkingclubs.com and on the contact page, you can just send me a note right there. There is also, they'll see a couple other pages where it explains if you want to start a club or join a club and how to think about that and how that works. But the contact page is the fastest path to get to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And also for just contributing to this community in this way. I think it's really needed. And people, to cut entrepreneurs some slack, everybody's doing the best they can.
Yeah.
And they're we all are working so hard, but to have that focused edge of how to spend your time and energy is such a gift, to have that knowledge and to have that, that push on your shoulder to be going in the right direction. So really want to acknowledge you for bringing that to our community. And thank you for coming here. I'm so happy that we met and that we did the thing that we're preaching, which is use social media as a tool to connect and then take the next step and go deeper. So I'm really glad that we made that connection. So one last question, Michelle, what does it mean to you to thrive?
I think when you allow yourself to be yourself with everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, like just being your full self and not being afraid to go for what you want.
I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Always be yourself. Yeah. That's another one that I think is hard for people to do and learn, and I think it's just one of those constant evolution things. That's also part of what I'm hoping to help people do, through the clubs, and even myself in that process.
Yeah, well, it's a lifelong journey to
It is.
be more and more of yourself, but who else are you going to be?
Yes.
Well, I
Thank
really
you.
thank you for coming on, and thank you to all of my guests for joining me as well. And as always, until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, it's Heather again. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Thrive. Every week we try to bring you people and information to help you change your life for the better, to grow your business, to expand your thinking, and to open your heart. If you did enjoy this content, I would so appreciate it if you would go to iTunes and review us. Let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your feedback. And if you found this information helpful or useful in any way, please share it on out. Let your friends and family know about Thrive. And finally, if you'd like to know more about me, you can visit me at heatherpoduska.com. Until next time, here's to hitting all your high notes.